Hi everybody, thank you so much for joining me once again for the second part of our curriculum focus with our pre-K program, where we're going to talk a little bit in more detail about nature's giants. And of course, my name is Sharon, and Fanny is back with me today too. And we just wanted to share some more information with you. We have a story to read. We've got some photos and a little science experiment to explore. Should we get started, Fanny? What do you say? Yeah. Okay. We wanted to ask you first what you think some of nature's giants could be. We touched upon this a little bit in our greeting circle, but what are some more giants of nature that we can think about? Do you have some, Fanny? Yeah? Okay. Yes, mountains. We talked about mountains and volcanoes. Yes. And trees. You were a big tree for the calming strategy, if you remember. You grew from a seed into a tree with your arms spread out like branches and leaves waving in the wind. That's right. And some trees, of course, get so tall, almost as tall as an apartment building. That's how big that they can grow. So they're giants, that's for sure. What else? Deserts and oceans, that's right. Any part of nature that is really big and large can be considered a giant of nature. And because it's nature, it's often very beautiful and it's often very majestic. And guess what? This is our wonderful word of the week, majestic. And that means strong and bold and captivating and beautiful and very much part of nature, very majestic. That's right, Fanny. So take heart our wonderful word of the week, majestic. Good job, Fanny. Thank you so much. Any other thoughts about what other nature's giants could be? Yes, we do. We'll look at a book, and maybe that will help guide us on more ideas of different examples of nature's giants. Okay. You okay there, Fanny? Let's have a look. It's a big book, and it's called Nature's Giants, written by Pam Schiller. Now, there's some very special photographs in here, and the name of the photographer is Rachel Bartkowiak. Okay, so let's have a look. I love the photos in this book. And I'll try to share it with you very carefully. Earth is filled with wonders, large and small, from tiny sea creatures to majestic mountains. But for me, it's Earth's giants that most enthrall. So enthrall means to be captivated by, to be in wonderment by, to be so amazed at it, it stops you and makes you look. Giant animals roaming on land, flying in the air, swimming in the ocean. Magnificent. Polar bears are the largest predator on land and the largest of all bears. The male can grow to a height of 10 feet. That's pretty much as tall as the space between your floor and your ceiling. That's amazing. The eagle is second in size only to the California condor. The males have a wingspan of 6.5 to 7.5 feet. That is longer than the tallest person you know. And the orca whale can grow to a length of 19 to 20 feet. That's as tall, as high as a 2-story house. That is amazing. Giant rocks rising from the sea, forming mountain peaks, standing on desert sand, majestic. So look at these different mountains. They all have a little bit of different characteristics. One looks red. One looks like it's been eaten away at by the ocean waves and by the wind. And the other one looks like it also has faced some erosion by the waves of the water. And probably other kinds of erosion, like ice melting. Oh my goodness, look at these trees. Giant trees reaching for the sky, spreading mighty limbs, shading life below, regal. Now I'm just going to give you guys a bit of a close-up here of these pages. And you can see how tall that is. Very large. Giant ice formations stretching out of sight, floating on the river, covering mountaintops. Splendid. Have a look at each of these. That's a glacier or an iceberg. Large pieces of ice that formed on land and float in an ocean or a lake. Icebergs come in all shapes and sizes, from chunks of ice as big as your house to the size of islands or even a small country. Giant oceans caressing the horizon, crashing to the shore, hiding life below. Powerful. That is very powerful. And here we see some giant rivers winding through the land, carrying transport, revealing beauty with every turn. Peaceful. There's a river called the Nile River in Egypt, and that is the longest river in the world. All of these are nature's giants. Oh my goodness, this is beautiful. Giant waterfalls tumbling over rocks, dancing through the air, plunging to the ground, resounding. That means full of glory. That's amazing. It's a long, long drop for that water. Giant sun lighting the day, shining through the trees, warming the earth. Royal. Look what a beautiful photograph that is. It's beautiful. Okay. Oh. Giant moon. Of course the moon is nature's giant. Gliding across the sky, playing hide and seek, chasing the sun away. Mysterious. I like the way that the light is reflecting off of those ocean waves that are coming crashing into shore. That's spectacular. Huge, enormous, gigantic and tall, magnificent, majestic, regal, splendid, powerful, peaceful, resounding, royal, and mysterious. Earth's giants, one and all. I'll just show you those pages up close. Aren't they lovely? Very nice. Yeah. So that gives us an idea of all the other giants of nature that we hadn't thought about. Waterfalls. We didn't mention waterfalls, did we? Glaciers. Maybe we talked about glaciers in our greeting circle. But definitely mountains and volcanoes definitely would be one. And of course, there's many animals that are also giants. Should we learn some signs, Fanny, for this week? Let's think about some signs. So mountains were featured. Let's think about the signs for mountain. So if you guys can make two fists and bang them together and then spread out. So bang and spread. And that's a mountain. It's kind of like two rocks colliding together under the Earth's surface and one pushing out to form a mountain. That's right, Fanny. And then tree, you make your hand flat and then you form a tree, just like that. And desert is lots of big sand dunes and a whole bunch of vast area dedicated to just great big waves of sand. It's also very hot in the desert during the day. So the sign for desert is wiping your lip, as if you're wiping the sweat off your lip, and then showcasing the big space around you with your hand. So that's the sign for desert. So mountain, tree, and desert can all be part of the group Nature's Giants. That's right, Fanny. Good job. So we have a little bit of a science experiment for you, and it's meant to be a little bit fun. And maybe it will work and maybe it won't work, but why don't we try? We sort of talked about erosion, the word erosion, when we saw those pictures. And we talked about how some of those mountain shapes looked like the dirt and the soil and the rocks and all of the ingredients that make up that mountain were sort of eaten away at by the power of the waves coming crashing into the mountain. And that is true. That is how mountains are formed and shaped over many, 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 many years. They get their ground is sort of restructured because other forces are pushing against them. And in this case, it would be wind or water from the waves, from the power of the waves. So we've got a pile here. We've got a sand pile, as if we could pretend it was the desert even. We've got a pile of soil and dirt here, and hopefully you can see that. And we've got a pile of rocks here. Now I wonder if Fanny blows on each one of these, what would happen? Will you help me, Fanny? Let's blow together. Let's see. Oh my goodness. That made a mess, didn't it? Let's try this one. That made a little mess. Let's try this one. Nothing really happened to the rocks. So when we blew on the pile of sand, sand went all over the tray. And I hope you can see that. When we blew on the soil, a little bit of the soil spread out. And when we blew on the rocks, we didn't really move the rocks at all. So if it was very windy in the desert, it would probably shape the sand dunes or the sand mountains into structure that went with the wind, that piled up in one area because the wind blew it in that area. And then even lots of mountains along big ocean shores, there's a lot of sand in those mountains. So over the years, the power of the wind blowing against that mountain from the power and the force of the waves causing the wind, that would also shape those mountains. Now, we also wanted to try something too. So I've got my watering can here, and I'm going to try showing you what will happen. We pour water on our sand pile. Oh, it changed a lot. It took, the depth came down, It took out sand from the top and bled it out into little rivers. Let's see what happens here. So more with the sand, but also with the soil. So I hope you can see that. Maybe I'll stand up just to make sure. And then let's just try with the rocks. The rocks don't move. They're pretty solid in there. And in fact, it formed a whole other lake away from the rocks. So that tells us that depending on what the mountains are made out of, if they are made out of rocks, then they're pretty solid structures. They probably last a long time, and it takes a lot of the Earth's forces to change it. But if that mountain is made out of sand, things like sandstone or limestone, different ingredients and materials like that, then it can get changed more quickly and more easily from the power of the wind and the power of water and even rain. And even in forested areas on the mountains, where there is lots of soil to grow those trees and grow those plants, if it rains a lot and storms a lot, it can actually erode some of some of the soil and cause some of those trees to come down. So the power of nature is also a giant, and that's what causes wind erosion and water erosion. So maybe you could study that more a little bit with your family members, with moms or dads. They could show you some photos from online for you. Okay, so wind erosion is definitely something that occurs in the deserts, and definitely something that occurs along mountains that are made made mostly of sand or light rock, sedimentary rock. And hard rock, it's a little bit more difficult to change the shape of. But over time, all these mountains definitely change due to the power of nature. Okay, so Miss Fanny, we've got a little bit of a song to say goodbye to today, don't we? Are you ready? Do you remember what it is? Yes, it's to the tune of She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain. And we'll pretend that it's Fanny coming around the mountain, okay? But you can come around the glacier and you can come around the ocean. Pretend we'll substitute in some of nature's giants, okay? She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming around the glacier when she comes. She'll be coming around the ocean. She'll be coming around the trees. She'll be coming around the deserts when she comes. And we'll all go out to say goodbye to her. Yes, we'll all go out to say goodbye to her. We will all go out to say goodbye. We'll all go out to say goodbye. We'll all go out to say goodbye to her. Okay, everybody. We will see you next time. Thank you so very much for joining us. Fanny, got a big air kiss to blow today. Mwah. Bye for now, everybody. See you next time.